The romance of the Roman general Julius Caesar with the Egyptian queen Cleopatra is, without a doubt, one of the most famous not only of antiquity, but of all history. Not surprisingly, at that time he was the most relevant man in ancient Rome and she was the most powerful woman in ancient Egypt, so their relationship left no one indifferent. This has been reflected over the centuries in a multitude of books, films, plays, operas, ballets and even carnival and Halloween costumes. When Julius Caesar and Cleopatra met, in 48 BC, he was 52 and she was only 20. Despite her youth, the queen already stood out for her great intelligence, cunning, sophistication and training in the Greek tradition. He was a polyglot, interested in the cults of Egypt, and credited with authoring works on a wide range of subjects, from cosmetics and hairdressing to scientific and philosophical subjects. It should also be noted that it is likely that she had already been in Rome during her childhood, accompanying her father, King Ptolemy XII, on one of his exile trips. However, he would not have met Caesar at that time, as Caesar was in Gaul. For his part, we have no evidence that Caesar himself was ever in Egypt before 48 BC. The beginning of their relationship took place in the context of a double civil war, the Roman War between Julius Caesar and Pompey the Great and the Egyptian War between Cleopatra and her brother Ptolemy XIII. For this reason, one of the first actions of the Roman general when he settled in Alexandria was to summon the two brothers to his presence to invite them to peacefully share the throne according to their father's wishes. When it came to gaining the support of the Roman leader, Ptolemy XIII theoretically started from a more favorable situation, being the architect of Pompey's death and having the support of the city of Alexandria. However, the strategist Cleopatra knew how to turn the situation in her favor. Upon receiving the summons in his exile in the Syriac-Palestinian strip, he abandoned his troops and set out quickly and secretly for Alexandria. First, a servant took her in a small rowboat, and once in the city, he hid her in a laundry bag to introduce her at dusk into the palace where Caesar was staying. Already in his private rooms, the Roman leader would have been pleased with the surprise that had emerged from the bag. Thus, by the time Ptolemy XIII arrived at the royal residence for his interview with the popular, the latter had already been persuaded by the young woman to support her cause. Thus, while the will of Ptolemy XII was once again respected and a joint reign of both brothers in Egypt was restored, Caesar and Cleopatra were already lovers. After the end of the Alexandrian War, Julius Caesar stayed almost 3 more months in Egypt with the aim of stabilizing the region. During that time, he and Cleopatra cruised the Nile River on a luxurious royal barge that was accompanied, according to some authors, by up to 400 ships. Their goal may have been to parade around the country bragging about their victory and bragging about how well their countries got along, but there's no denying that there was also a romantic component. Caesar had been campaigning for more than a decade, and since he had crossed the Rubicon he had not been able to enjoy any period of rest. Seen in this light, it would seem logical to think that even the most powerful man in Rome had been tempted by the possibility of spending some time of rest enjoying the company of the young, energetic and resourceful Cleopatra. The truth is that we have no good reason to think that they were not genuinely in love. For Caesar, that didn't mean he felt an obligation to be faithful to the Egyptian woman, since he was married to his third wife, Calpurnia, to begin with. For her part, Cleopatra could have fallen in love with the Roman, despite their large age difference, because of his spectacular charisma, personal charm and way of exercising power. In the autumn of 46 BC, Cleopatra, her family, and part of the Egyptian court moved to Rome, to one of Caesar's villas on the outer bank of the Tiber River. They would stay there for more than a year, until the assassination of Julius Caesar in March 44 BC. The reason for the visit is not known, but it is most likely that they simply wanted to spend more time together. Proof of the popular leader's affection for the Egyptian queen is that, in the temple of Venus Genetrix, in the heart of Caesar's Roman Forum, he ordered a golden statue of Cleopatra to be sculpted next to that of the goddess. Throughout her stay in the metropolis, Cleopatra never ceased to be the epicenter of people's gossip. Most criticized her, since Caesar was still married to the honorable Calpurnia, but there were also those who came to visit her with gifts, perhaps thinking that they could obtain favors from Caesar by flattering his mistress. Even the famous orator Marcus Tullius Cicero went to see her, although in his writings he complained about how arrogant and hateful she was. At the end of 46 BC, Caesar Ion was born, one of the 4 children of Caesar and Cleopatra. Being the son of the most powerful Roman and an Egyptian queen, the boy seemed destined for great feats. In addition, to date, he was the only biological child that Caesar had had, so it was foreseeable that he would be his heir. However, any life project he might have had was thwarted when his father was murdered. As the fruit of a detested Oriental queen, he would never have been accepted into the Roman aristocracy, least of all as a substitute for his father. Beyond this, there is another important factor that sealed Caesarion's fate. In his will, Julius Caesar not only did not name him heir, but did not even recognize him as a legitimate son. In the midst of all the bewilderment, and realizing that their lives were in danger, Cleopatra quickly left the city to return to Egypt. Once in Alexandria, the queen supposedly took it upon herself to kill her brother and co-regent, Ptolemy XIV, in order to put her son on the throne under the name of Ptolemy XV. Finally, in 30 BC, following the Roman conquest of Egypt and his mother's suicide, a teenage Caesarion was caught and executed. If you want to know more about the story of Julius Caesar, don't miss this video here. But if you want to know more about Cleopatra's story, don't miss this other video here. They are worth seeing. Subscribe.